Hello vinyl community, I'd like to bring you recent vinyl spins number 7. So I have been not buying too much recently because I've had a few things on pre-order, and one of the pre-order items that I did order came in this week, and it was one that I was actually pretty excited about because I had heard some samples of this album online, at least the alternate takes, and out of all the versions that have come out, this one has probably excited me the most. So the album in question is the box set for Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin. So I think a lot of folks know this one quite well. I actually haven't played this album in a while, and I've done so deliberately because I don't want to kill something that's good. So if you haven't seen these reissues, they're really well done. They're pressed on 180 gram vinyl, and the production is just amazing. They're trying to replicate what they did with the original discs on 180 gram vinyl. Everything is pressed at Optimal in Germany. These box sets, though, I only recommend for an excessive fan. So here is the album that has the alternate cuts, and for all the alternate cuts they did a reverse image or a negative image of the original album cover. Now, initially I was a little bit skeptical about this one, and I was a little bit disappointed because the number of alternate cuts is only 7 tracks, and you know, Physical Graffiti is a double album, so I was thinking, well, why not do a double album full of alternate tracks? But they kept it to 7. Of those 7, compared to the previous reissues, a couple of the tracks on here were the most enlightening. So I have a ton of the bootlegs. What was released on the previous albums I had heard before, at least very close alternate cuts on the bootleg album, so nothing was really unique to me, or new to me, shall I say. But this one actually did have some really cool stuff that, you know, I had not heard the alternate cuts before. So there was an alternate cut of Boogie with Stu, which I had not heard before. Sick Again, they had a, you know, it's not my favorite Zeppelin cut, but, you know, I had not heard the early version, so them working on it. Now, In the Light, I had heard a bootleg version of this before, so if you haven't heard the alternate cut of In the Light, I recommend it because it's very different from the studio release. So it is worth checking out. I don't recommend buying the box set unless you're a hardcore fan. So all the box sets come with this nice limited edition print of 30,000, so you know it's not going to be super valuable, but you get CDs of each of the albums, and plus you get a download code for 96 kilohertz 24-bit album, and I've been playing the digital versions today. The other nice thing about these box sets is that you get a nice hardcover book with each of them. Each book for each album ranges from about 80, 85 to 110 pages. This one I think is a 90 page maybe. So it has full color stuff. Now what I found funny is, and I actually had this page open, is this is kind of funny. It's kind of a misnomer because it says it's the master tape. Let's see. Right down here in the description it says master tape, but original master is not checked off here. It says production copy, so what gives? Anyways, that's Physical Graffiti. To me, this has been one of the better ones of the reissues. Don't recommend it for a casual fan. For a casual fan, you're good with the CD or the vinyl reissue. No need to get the box set. But for the hardcore fan, yeah, this is in my opinion, one of the better ones. So some of the other stuff that I've been spinning, this one I pulled off the shelf because of the vinyl movie that I referenced in one of my previous videos. So if you watched the vinyl video from one of my previous ones, the director has been in search of this guy for the longest time, and he happens to find a collector that actually has an original copy. And no, this is not an original. This is actually the Light in the Attic reissue. So if you're not familiar with Light in the Attic label, they're actually a really good reissuer. This one just happens to be a really nice gatefold, thick cardstock cover, pressed on 180 gram vinyl, and trying to replicate the original Capitol label. And yeah, the cover is really kind of cheesy. Definitely a product of its time. But this is good early 50s, late 50s country folk with kind of a Christian tune. I thought it was good. I enjoyed listening to it. One of the Louvin brothers actually passed away a few years after that. Fell into a little bit of alcoholism, if I remember correctly. Comes with a nice inner, and it has different artists talking about him. This guy I happen to have on CD, and this CD is 12 to 16 cuts by other artists that were a fan of the Louvin brothers. This is also on Light in the Attic, so you may want to give this a sample if you're interested in a folk country album from the 50s or 60s with kind of a Christian tinge to it. But I enjoyed it, and so after rewatching segments of that film, I was like, hey, I haven't listened to that one in a while. I've also been on a pretty big Jackie McLean kick, so listening to some of his more, it's on the edge of free jazz, kind of hard bop with the edge of free, but I pulled this one off, and this is straight ahead hard bop by him. This is the Music Matters release for Bluesnik. Has a lot of good players on it, so Freddie Hubbard, Jackie McLean of course, Kenny Drew, Doug Watkins, and Pete LaRocca. So bluesish hard bop, made early in Jackie McLean's career. I recommend this one. This is really good. Next one I've been listening to is a Icelandish composer. He's done film soundtracks. In fact, I think he was just up for an Academy Award for one of his soundtracks, and this is Johann Johannsson, and this is Englaborn. And classic with a little bit of electronic tinge. Very nice pressing. Nothing too exciting about the labels. Has a very interesting opener to this particular one with kind of a electronic choir boy's voice done electronically. I'll include a link down below. So this is very interesting to listen to. Next item, and I guess I kind of lied. I did get another pre-order in. So it was a second pre-order. Going a little bit on the heavier edge. So this is Stone Temple Pilots number 4. I happened to see them on tour for this particular album, and the tour that I saw them on, they were the headliner, but there were 3 or 4 other acts that preceded them that, you know, were great as well. So Disturbed, Days of the New, and Godsmack. And I want to say Nickelback was also playing, so it was kind of a 5-band lineup, and Stone Temple Pilots ended the show. It was an incredible show. If you ever have a chance to catch them live, if they ever get together again and play, I highly recommend it. Scott Weiland, he's quite the showman. For this particular tour, I'm not sure if he did it on every show, but when they got to the encore, the lights went completely down, and he came out butt naked, dressed in an American flag, and played a couple of tracks off the core album, which is great. This is the, going back to number 4, I really like the track Down, and Sour Girl is also on this, so this is the music on vinyl release. This is the first time that this has been released on vinyl. For the most part, I've been pretty pleased with the music on vinyl pressings. The initial ones are numbered, and I wouldn't say it's 180 gram, but it's pretty damn close. So nice thick vinyl, which is what I like. I watched one of Roger Coleman's videos a few days ago, and he was showing a bootleg, well, kind of a semi-bootleg, it's an official bootleg from the band, and based on watching that video, I'm like, I haven't listened to them in a while, so I grabbed them, and this is the band Ohm, which out of all their albums, I probably like this one the best. This is Advaitic Songs, with the kind of the orthodox, their major thing on a lot of their albums is using orthodox icons on the cover. Ohm, if you're not familiar with them, they are just a bassist and a drummer at their very simplest. So a lot of their tracks are chant-based, kind of, I wouldn't say metal, although the band members have their roots in metal. So if you've ever seen the album Sleep, they were a part of Sleep, and so the bassist and the drummer formed Ohm. This one, though, if you're into folk chanting, has a little bit of a Dead Can Dance tinge to me. They've added a violin, they have a nice acoustical guitar that they've put into the final track, and for me this album is just phenomenal. So I will include a link to this one down below. So switching gears a little bit, one of the bands that I was really big into in the early 2000s was a band called Thunderball, and they are on the ESL label. ESL, if you're not familiar with them, the headliners of the ESL label is Thievery Corporation, which I had shown on one of my previous videos. So they were putting out Thunderball's albums. I don't think they've had anything out in the past 4 or 5 years, but this one was one of my favorites. This did not get a full-fledged vinyl release. This is just kind of an EP from the CD, which has 13 or 14 cuts, but this has some of the best cuts on that album. And one of the best ones is the Road to Benares, which features Africa Bambaataa. So I recommend checking this out if you're into Thievery Corporation, a little faster pace than their previous albums, early rap, so like African Bambaataa. So I'll include a link to this one down below as well. Moving on, so after playing a little bit of Thunderball, I had to pull this guy off the shelf, and this is Ross G and the African Space Program. So Ross G is kind of a dubstep musician based out of Los Angeles, and you can find a lot of his stuff on Discogs fairly cheaply, but a lot of his stuff is fairly limited. So if you're into dubstep / electronica, I recommend checking out Ross G. And the last item I have to show today is Dumbo Gets Mad. So this was their last album that came out. Very limited vinyl release. This is kind of a Italian psych, a little bit pop tinged band. And nice custom labels. And sorry, the album is Quantum Leap. Most of the folks in the United States aren't too familiar with this band, and trying to remember where I encountered these guys first. I might have hit upon them in iTunes, but they're not a bad listen, and again I'll include a link down below. So hope you guys enjoyed this version of my recent vinyl spins. Shoot me comments, I appreciate those, and have a great weekend.